What's up, y'all? This is Chelsea. I go by model Chelsea Talise in the fashion industry in Louisville, Kentucky, 502 Stand Up. Today we are talking about National Grief Awareness Day, which takes place August 30th. So this is Beauty and Brains, Cognitions of the Creative, Season 3, Episode 4. I have Brooke Butler here, who is a cosmetologist and educator in the state of Kentucky. Welcome, Brooke.
Hey, hey, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on and for your patience. I know I've been trying to set this up for a while now. So thank you for being patient and seeing it through. I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you having the platform, and I know what kind of work goes into it. So, God's timing is always perfect. It's always
For
going to
sure.
play out the way it's supposed to.
For sure. Thank you. Would you like to share with the audience a little more about yourself?
Sure. So I am, oh girl, I'll be 33 in 2 weeks, 14 days
Beautiful.
exactly. So I'm a 33-year-old mother of two.
Hmm.
I have a bonus son who is 12, and my little first baby that I got to carry, he just turned 1 in May. So
Oh,
I am going through a lot of transitions and
yeah.
adjustments between balancing being a working mom, being a entrepreneur mom, running my business, and
Hmm.
finding appreciating the flexibility in the entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
that I can be the present mom that I want to be, but also finding balance in that because the
Hmm.
business does not run itself. So as an independent contractor and someone who is constantly trying to evolve and grow, but still wanting to be very present with my family,
Hmm.
I'm also newly engaged. So
Ah,
balancing those roles of
congratulations.
thank you, balancing those roles of being, the hairstylist, but also the business owner, the mom, the fiance, being a
Yeah.
partner and being a mom and finding balance in that. You want to be everything you can to your partner, but also you both want to be everything as a parent. So
Mm.
it is interesting, a blessing nonetheless to have the partner that I have and to be able to be the partner that I am.
Yeah.
But everything is chaotic,
Ooh,
y'all. It is
ooh.
chaotic but exciting. Like
Yeah.
with blessings comes the weight of the responsibility, and you never
Mhm.
want to fumble. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm just ever evolving, but I
for
love love.
sure.
I love people, and I love growth. So, both parts, being the mom and the hairstylist, we actually end up being therapists to our clients. So,
I bet.
I literally get to explore all of my passions and my talents by doing overlapping where I am to my family and to my business. So, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I think you really highlighted just the duality of life. Like really just trying to find a balance, a happy medium. But I'm just starting to learn like we we sacrifice things every day. Most of the time it's our time.
Yes,
Where do we want that
absolutely.
time to go to? We got to choose. And so it's just, I'm learning it's all about intentionality, and it's exhausting, but also rewarding at the same time. I don't know. You definitely highlighted all of those nuances that come with entrepreneurship and being a mother and being a partner. It's dedication for sure.
Yes, that is what you said. Exhausting yet rewarding all at
Mhm.
the same time.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. So today we're talking about grief. Specifically, this is National Grief Awareness Day on August 30th. And so when I think of grief, I automatically think about the stages of grief, which are anger, denial, depression, bargaining, and acceptance. And so I just want to know within your industry, so you're in cosmetology, right? Are there any other industries that you belong to? You said education as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I educate in the field of cosmetology. So whether it be one-on-ones,
Mm-hmm.
I've done courses actually for the cosmetology program at Campbellsville University,
Mm-hmm.
specialty courses, um, and then a little bit of on just like business within the industry of cosmetology. But as
Yeah.
an educator, everything is tied to either the actual field itself or teaching people how to run a more balanced and professional, lucrative, create a business of longevity within cosmetology versus just, hey, we have the talent. but
Yeah.
there's so much behind the scenes, like where
Mhm.
we consider ourselves hairstylists and we don't introduce ourselves as entrepreneurs
Yeah.
oftentimes. And so that mindset alone definitely takes away from the business for us as well as our client experience.
Mm. Okay. So as a educator and even like leadership position or role, and also as a cosmetologist, what stage of grief would you say is most visible or prominent when it shows up in your industry?
I would say probably a 50-50 between denial and acceptance.
Mm.
Um, I feel like going into from a cosmetologist standpoint, as the person delivering the service,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of us are in denial about what it is that we expect from the business, why we are choosing the business, like what is our motivation behind pursuing the career.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are in denial and cannot accept what our true feelings or desires are from it, then we don't know how to take the correct approach.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we pursue this career, whether you're still in school or you already have clients, some people start clients before they decide to go to school. And so then they're in denial about the value of the education and how much they're
Wow.
truly willing to invest in themselves. It's kind of like, well, I already have, the talent and I have the client. So why do I need to educate myself further
Yeah,
when it's
yeah.
so much more? So again,
Mm-hmm.
that's where you have to accept how passionate are you truly behind your talent in your clients. The
Right.
service is one thing, but if you are
Mm-hmm.
truly passionate about what you are delivering to your clients and the type of clientele that you're going to attract, then you will value the education and the proper
Absolutely.
training, the sanitation, the science behind,
Mm-hmm.
because you can always create a beautiful style. But if you
Yeah.
run into a client who doesn't have the perfect canvas and they have underlying issues, you have to be
Mm-hmm.
educated enough to either say, hey, I can't do this service because you need this, and I can
Yeah.
do one service before the other, or you have to be knowledgeable and also confident in yourself enough to say
Mm.
you need to seek treatment elsewhere before I can service you, or while I am servicing you. You may need to see a dermatologist. You may actually need to see your PCP. You may
Mm-hmm.
need to get blood work done. I can still service you, but in the meantime, there's only so much that I can do um, from the outside that is going to, there's only so many topical treatments that I can give you that
Yeah.
is going to correct or nurture whatever the issue is that you're having. And if
Mm-hmm.
we're only focused on the outer surface of what that style and that service is looking like,
Mm-hmm.
then we aren't able. So again, you have to really accept versus being in
Yeah.
denial
Yeah.
of what it is that you truly care about when it comes to the industry. If it's all about they're willing to book the service and they're willing to pay me, then that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody has, I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, that is not my preference. But for some people, that's what it's about. It's a job. I'm doing a trade for a trade. You get the service, I get the money.
Yeah.
Cool. If that is you.
Mm-hmm.
Again, accepting that it's changed. I know I didn't start out wanting to go into cosmetology. It was something I kind of fell into.
Mm-hmm.
I had been doing
Yeah.
hair just at home with my family for
Mm-hmm.
years, but I wasn't waking up every day like, oh, I can't wait to be I still cannot believe, and I'm what, 6 years, 7 years into this industry,
Wow.
doing it full time as a professional. And I never, and every day I wake up and I'm like, I can't believe I do this every day.
Never seen
Like,
it
I
coming.
cannot believe that I don't have any other jobs. Like, I can't believe
Wow.
that this is truly what I do, the things that I've accomplished in life, and, the life goals the things that I've purchased and done. And I'm like, I've
Mm-hmm.
done that solely, running my business all on my own.
Wow.
That is amazing to me. And
That's
I always had an
remarkable. Yeah.
entrepreneurial spirit, but to say that I do it doing hair,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's amazing, but it's shocking because again, I have
Yeah.
so many things that I was so passionate about being when I
Mm-hmm.
grew up. And it was
Mm-hmm.
never ever, I actually took offense when people would say, when are you going to hair school? I'd be like, never.
Wow.
So to go to college, to have this career, I dropped everything to go to school, so, for cosmetology. So again, the acceptance that when I entered the industry,
Mm,
what I thought it was is
mm-hmm.
not what it was when I came out of school. When I was in school, I was learning this is not truly what I had in mind.
Yeah.
Not with my peers, not with my educators. So, for me and what I see, even in people who are, whether they're still in school now or out in the field, being able to accept
Mm-hmm.
that when I came into the game in 1998, and I'm still in the game 30 years later, this ain't that. The clients are
Yeah,
different.
right.
The promotion is
Oh
different.
yeah.
The styles are different.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
science behind it's different. What they were teaching us back then. This is why, continued education is so important. Even in the
Absolutely.
medical field, things are ever changing.
Mm-hmm.
Even, as a therapist, I'm sure what they thought about the mind and child
Yeah.
development and, emotions and all those things 20,
Mm-hmm.
30, 40, 50 years ago, and what
Mm-hmm.
we now know or are still doing the research on, it's ever changing. So you
Absolutely.
have to accept that this is not what it was when I
Mm-hmm.
stepped into, and you have to be willing to accept that it is ever changing. You have to accept that you cannot get set in one way. You have to constantly
Mm-hmm.
be willing to train and educate and always be open. You have to accept that you have to be a forever student
Yeah.
of life and of the game, because the clients are going to change no matter what. Even if you think you have the same type of client, all of my clients are nurses. All of my clients
Mm-hmm.
work in the field of education.
Mm-hmm.
Their careers are changing over the years, and what is expected of them is changing over the years.
Yeah.
So what is expected of them at home is changing. So what they need and expect of you is changing.
Mm.
Um, so again, we have to accept that. So if you're either in denial about how passionate am I? Am I willing to continue to take classes? Am I willing to continue to train and time myself and to protect this and to add this service and to test new products?
Mm-hmm.
Products are forever being discontinued. Brands are
Oh
forever
yeah.
selling.
Being recalled, everything.
Being recalled.
Mm-hmm.
There's all these backs and forths on social media, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it isn't the product itself, it's truly the press that it is receiving.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
are you going to be frustrated with the negative press that your favorite product line is receiving,
Mm.
or are you going to accept that either A, regardless of what that is, people and the clients can think what they think, but I'm going to stand behind this brand because it
Yeah.
hasn't
Yeah.
steered me
Yeah.
wrong. And you're going
Mm-hmm.
to have to accept what comes along with standing behind that brand. And I use that example because it's definitely something that I went through with a brand that I was tried and true. And to this day, I'm tried and true.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't a
Mm-hmm.
promotion, so we ain't going to drop the brand. But
Okay.
there was there was a lot of controversy behind this brand. And I even had other clients, other stylists writing me like, hey, what you going to do about that? Do you still use this? I'm kind of
Mm-hmm.
considering testing something else. I bought this other brand. It's similar. You should check it out. I like it. And I'm like, baby, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well.
I'm also, again, I'm very big on education. In
Mm-hmm.
all of my talents, no matter what careers that I was pursuing or aspired to be, I always knew whatever it was I wanted to go to school for it, and I was going to continue with it.
Yeah.
However, behind that is also because I do take pride in the education. When I pick up a product, I'm educating myself on that as well.
For
If there's
sure.
a certification or a course specific to the brand, I'm going to take that. I
Mm-hmm.
knew that a majority of the bad press this particular brand and product was getting was tied to user error and lack of
Mm-hmm.
education.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Not the
My clients sit
chemicals.
in my chair and I tell them I'm using this product because of this. This is what it does. This is what it doesn't do. This is
Mm-hmm.
how you can use it should you choose, but this is also how I use it. And if you are going to use it, because I'm a realist. I'm not in denial that people want to go home and do their own services. I'm not
Of
in
course.
denial that people don't value a licensed cosmetologist. Everybody thinks they can do hair at home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And most of us start that way. So
Right.
cool. But because I know that clients are going to do, I tell them, while I don't recommend it, should you insist on doing it yourself, this is the thing. Everybody sitting in my chair and booking with me is going to get educated on the products, the processes that I'm using.
Of
Why? Because
course.
number one, I am confident in myself. And two, because number one, you can't do what I do. You can take it and I can give you out of game.
Period.
You can take it and I can give you out of the game, and it's never gonna hit the same. But because I know what people are gonna do, I want you to do it safely.
Mm-hmm.
I
Absolutely.
also know from my experience in being on the client side, from being in school and talking to my instructors and other people who are in the field now, everybody is not gonna give you free game. Honestly, nobody. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's a 10 out of 10. You're going to find 99% of people that even if you pay somebody for a class, they are not giving you 100%.
Mm-hmm.
They're never
Mm-hmm.
giving you that. It's always something they're going to keep for themselves. So when it comes to product knowledge for our clients, um, when we are retailing professional grade products, people are not educating their clients on that usage is just kind of like, hey, buy it
Yeah.
from me if you're going to get it. Yes, I sell in salon retail, but they're only selling so much. And so clients are going home and they're either overusing it, underusing it. They're combining it with products that basically do the same thing. So again, overusing, overprocessing with certain ingredients.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't mix well with they're lying to their stylist about, I had this
Mm.
color service done before,
Mm.
because they want a service. They want the style. So when
Mm-hmm.
you're doing that background, if you do it, everybody's not doing those in-depth consults. It's always going to show when the clients are dishonest about
Oh yeah.
what's happening and how they're using something,
Oh yeah.
because now you losing your hair, and it wouldn't
Okay.
have happened if you wasn't mixing it with this medication. Yes, I may have told you you can't get this service because this product goes along with it, but it comes at the cost of what?
And I'm
So
no
again, denial and
cosmetologist.
acceptance. You can go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm no cosmetologist, but as an esthetician,
Hmm.
just as what you were saying, like if I'm getting somebody on my books and I'm like, hey, how long has it been since your last wax? And you trying to tell me it's been 4 weeks. And when we get down there, your skin is tearing or you got ingrown hairs, and this is painful for you. Baby, it's been
Yes.
more than 4 weeks.
Yes.
It's been more than 4 weeks. Your hair is fighting me to come out. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
when
I know
you were
exactly
saying
what you
that
mean.
they be trying to lie, but we can tell when we do the
It's
work.
gonna
Like,
show. It's gonna show. And I mean, I've asked people, how long have you been natural? Do you have any kind of, chemical services in your hair? And they like, no. And I'm like, this virgin. They like, yeah.
mm, mm-hmm.
So when I put this on your hair, it's gonna melt. So I'm gonna ask you again beforehand. Like, have you done this? Have you had this? Have you been in the sun? Have you had, laser treatment? Like, whatever it is.
Be
So yeah,
honest with whoever's chair y'all in.
be honest, y'all.
Be
And
honest, please.
stylists, be honest. I don't even like using the term stylist. The stylist, baby, y'all do hair. Y'all don't wash and y'all don't do health. Y'all just style.
Mm-hmm.
As a
Mm-hmm.
cosmetologist, as a licensed professional, I almost consider us a part of the healthcare, because baby,
Mm-hmm.
what y'all do to y'all hair, what y'all do to y'all bodies coming out of y'all hair and y'all
Mm-hmm.
skin. Your scalp is skin. It is
Yes,
exposed,
your biggest
to the
organ.
elements. Like, you know what I'm saying? All that matters. And so if we as licensed professionals we continue to be in denial
Mm-hmm.
about what we want and what we're doing, but also what the client is doing, simply because we want a certain outcome. So it's like, you know what? I ain't even gonna accept that. I ain't gonna hear it. I ain't gonna look at it. I'm gonna pretend like I don't know that this
Mm-hmm.
client is lying to me, and I'm just gonna let them deal with the consequence. When the reality is that clients are not gonna get online and say, I told her I had virgin hair when I dyed my hair
No.
last month and the week before and the week before and the week before. They gonna say my color's ugly or my hair melted off, and that's it.
That's all.
They gonna say I got chemical burn on the back of my neck because I had just got a chemical
I
peel,
relaxed
and I
my,
went
my
in,
neck the other day.
I relaxed my baby hairs, and then got
Yeah.
like, it's on you. And it sucks that we have to take on that responsibility, but it's
Yeah.
like, again, why are you doing what you do?
Mhm.
I didn't get into cosmetology because I felt like people was making money. I did hair because my mama wasn't taking me to the salon.
Yeah.
I did hair because I needed to figure it out. And as a family full of women, we pretty much, it just came, everybody now kind of do a little something.
Yeah.
The more that I learned and the more that I saw on myself and my family, the more research I did. I was never just freestyling, just knew I could do. I
Mhm.
knew in my mind, but I was either Googling, I was calling the cosmetologist I did know. I was constantly educating myself, even when it wasn't something I wanted to do full time, because at the end of the day, I'm going to do it, even if it's
Yeah.
just on me. Um,
That's so dope
and
of
I was
you.
always honest, with people about that. Like, I know you telling me I shouldn't do this in my dorm, but I'm gonna do it. And I'm gonna
Okay.
let you know how it turned out. And on the flip side, knowing that that's what people do coming in, I wanted people to be educated and to do things safely so
Yeah.
that they can be confident. As a Black woman who started out in corporate, in a field still beauty related, my bachelor's is in fashion merchandising. So,
Dope.
still very much in that field, Black women don't feel like we can show up as ourselves.
Mm.
So I had to, one, accept
Mhm.
when I was grieving and leaving that field that I so desperately, felt like I loved and was made for, that even if I survive in this field, so many people who look like me or don't look like me, they may be darker skinned, they may have, coarser hair or whatever. They feel like they don't belong, or they feel like they have to alter themselves to fit. And not just in the beauty industry. And I've had clients tell me, girl, I'm an accountant for a 10-figure company. I can't request no $1 million check with an afro. Why can't you?
Right.
Why can't you, baby?
Mm-hmm.
And so in having those conversations, I do it for the people.
Amen.
Yes, this is my job and I have to pay my bills, and again, God has made it do what it do.
Amen.
And that is what makes it so beautiful for me. But there was never a bone in my body that said I'm choosing this career for the money.
Wow. And here
And
we
on
are.
every single day, I have to remind myself, and on the days when it ain't doing what it always do what it do, but when it ain't doing what I want it to do, because again, I've never gone without, I remind myself and my clients, like, I don't do this for the money.
Yeah.
And that is why I'm able to accept the things that I do and find a way to work through them. And, help my clients work through them, or to simply say, you are not the client for me, because I'm not going to continue to badger you with questions. I'm not going to pull information out of you. And we're damn sure, I don't know if I can say that on this podcast.
Girl,
we're not going to sit and get, these adverse results based on me allowing you to F around and find out. Like, cool, you gonna lie, we gonna do it, and I'm gonna show you what happens. I'm gonna sit you down and be like, I know that is not it, because I can see, I can smell, you have all of these other symptoms, or like you can smell a chemical on somebody. I'm not willing to do this service on you. So, we're gonna return that deposit or not, depending on the day. Because the conversations I always had, the policies were there, you read, you agreed to the terms, but you still are not agreeing to the terms. And at the end of the day, this is my business, this is my brand, this is the integrity of my livelihood, that I have to stand behind. And so there was a time where I was in denial about how hard it would be. I didn't really think that people, especially coming home, I didn't get licensed here in Kentucky. I was living in Texas. So I had to revamp, move back home. And I'm like, I got all my friends and family. It's going to be cool. No, ma'am.
No.
Nobody was sitting in that chair. Everybody wanted a family friend discount. And they were still not sometimes being honest, or wanting me, hey, just do it for me. No, we got to do a test strand. We got to do an allergy test. We got to, we have to do these things. And so it came a point where I had to say, girl, wake up. How bad do you want it? And if this is what you've uprooted, and shifted your entire life to do, because I dropped everything on the side of the road to pull over and roll. It was literally just kind of like everything clicked one day. And so, how bad do you want this? And are you willing to risk everything that you've invested into it? Are you going to accept people in the industry for who they are? Because you also got to go on social media. I had deleted all my social media. I'm out the state living my best life. And then I'm like, dang, I need traction. I need to attract clients. I don't know nobody here. So I had to, again, accept that this is what I have to do. Okay, let me get on Instagram. Let me make a little content. Now I have to figure out my audience. What type of clients do I want to attract? Do I want the local celebrities? Do I want the career girls? Do I want to do editorial hair? Or do I want somebody that's coming weekly to bi-weekly, just getting their little maintenance and it's consistent? You know what I'm saying? Or do you want to hit them little bonuses during prom season and maybe tax season? Like, what type of client are you wanting truly? Like, we literally have to sit down and, okay, we got to accept this for what it is and how we're going to move forward. And that isn't ever going back and forth between the denial and the acceptance. Even with our coworkers, you may start out in a field, and as life and the trends of styling changes, you change what you want to do, what you're willing to do, or what's necessary. I know a professional who she experienced alopecia, and so her whole service trajectory changed. And I'm sure in the beginning she was kind of like, what? But it is so beautiful to see. I've learned so much about the industry and what she's able to do to make it work for her, simply because she went from being in denial to accepting and saying there are so many people who, if I don't make them accept their condition the way that I did, they're never going to get through it.
Yeah.
And she found her market. And it ain't a whole lot of people doing what she's doing, It
Yeah,
works
that's
for her.
amazing.
Um,
Like you said, it's circumstantial. Grieving is a human experience for everybody, right? Like no two people grieve the same. And I just love how you took the approach of leadership, and professionalism and licensure and ethics when it comes to grief and loss, right? Because grief
yes.
isn't necessarily always associated with death. We're talking about grieving losses or grieving visions that we maybe once had within our personal industry, right? And
Hmm.
like you were talking about being attached to a certain product, right? I mean, I guess that's heartbreaking for some if you,
It has
have
been for
been.
me.
But that could have been a case where I don't know if it did challenge your morals or values when it came to that particular product. That could have slowed down something within your business because you tied up, you know what I'm saying, on accepting what was going on. And maybe even I feel that hold on, I'm gonna segue real quick. I feel that also because you really tapped on like acceptance and denial as far as what you see in your industry. And I'm also thinking about like how you mentioned um we can't necessarily always show up as we want, and so clients maybe lie, or clients
Hmm.
don't share the full truth, about what is taking place. That also happens within like administration, you know what I'm saying, within buildings and companies that we work
Hmm.
with, because we're talking about ethics. But I feel that that's where the stage of grief of bargaining comes in, and that's where morals get tested, within the business structure or within the organization. And so that can only be more beneficial if the clients that we are seeing or our colleagues are being honest and being accepting of how evolving this industry is. You know what I'm saying? Like you mentioned, we have to continue our education. You are correct. That's exactly what I have to do every damn year. I have to renew my license, and that's just for therapy. I also have to renew my license for aesthetics every year, and there's requirements when we have to um, continue our education every year, whether that's 10 hours. We're doing this year on domestic violence, this year on code of ethics. It all looks
Hmm.
different. And I remember even in grad school, we had to watch or it was a podcast. We didn't watch, we had to listen to a podcast. And it was just talking about like half-life facts. So basically everything that we learn has a half-life, right? Like and he gave the example of, some car seats after what, like 5 years or something, you can't even use, like it's illegal.
Yeah,
Because
and I just learned that.
yeah, because the science has changed so much when it comes to the packaging, or when it comes to the manufacturing, like everything, the safety protocol is different now, like hell, they used to be able to smoke with kids in the car. You can't do that no more. So things change like so often within every industry. Like we said, there's recalls on products within the esthetician field. That's the same. There's recalls on this, and also you have to know your skin. You talked about that. Your skin is the biggest organ. You have to know your skin if you're coming in to get services. This is one of my first episodes where I get to talk about my esthetician side, so I'm loving this. But you have to know what you're working with before you come in requesting said services without booking a consult, or without, you know what I'm saying? Like there has to be a way for us to look out for ourselves before we just try to hop in someone else's chair. Like the education part doesn't necessarily have to only be towards professionals. Just because you don't have a certification or a degree, you can still continue your education. Google is at an all-time
Hmm.
high.
Yep.
Google is at an all-time
Yeah.
high.
And we just have to, like I said, we can't continue to be in denial about what we think is common sense. Like we have
Hmm.
to say, okay, you know what? Everybody should know that this product, do this to you by now. It ain't good for our skin. It ain't good for our skin.
Yeah,
As
right.
a black, as a black
Hmm.
or brown person, in the beauty industry. There are things that work for other people that do not work for us.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that we're more vulnerable to. So I know for me, like Black women are usually on blood pressure medication at a
Mm-hmm.
certain age. It
Mm-hmm.
ain't a biological fact that we automatically have to get it, which Black women have told me. It just happened at that age. And I'm like, that isn't our biological makeup. It's our
Yeah.
genetic history and lifestyle that
Mm-hmm.
makes us, more prone to these diseases, and thus
Yeah.
we end up on blood pressure medication, and it
And our
destroys our
cultural
hair.
diet. Mm-hmm.
It destroys our hair.
Yeah.
You can smell it when a Black woman over 40 sit in your chair.
Wow,
If she
really?
got that blood pressure, you can feel it, baby. It's crazy. And I remember
Wow.
hearing about it in cosmetology school, and then when I really got familiar with it, I had a few random clients, but it was with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And she sat in my chair one day, and I could feel the difference in her hair. And I said, "Are you on blood pressure medication?" And she said, "Yeah, I just started a
Wow.
couple weeks ago." And I said, "You did not tell me that."
Wow,
Um,
that's crazy. I had no
and so
idea.
I still am getting to the bottom of why specifically it does what it does to us, and probably because it was never tested out and meant to help us, but
Mm.
they give it to us.
Wow.
But no, it does a lot. And so, like I said, I learned a lot about that specifically, with my family members, and just
Mm-hmm.
being constantly on top of, my mom, my aunts, things like that, about their diet and the medications that they're on. And I use that to my advantage. I know a lot of people kind of, younger stylists don't like older clients usually.
Oh.
They don't have as much fun, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but I like to consider myself an old school stylist. I'm like, girl, if I went to her school straight out of high school, or really
Period.
even a little before, like, I
Mm-hmm.
should have been born like 10 years earlier, because baby, I'm gonna roll up y'all to death.
Like, you be slaying
I'm
some
a,
hair. I kept asking,
I'm,
you
I'm
do
a
live
roll
50
around from
locks?
west at you to death. Like, but it's all about the foundation,
Mm-hmm.
of the service and the style. And, older people don't want all that. So you can't, if
Yeah.
you ain't doing, all the flips and curls and crimps and whatever on this ponytail, they just want a soft little simple do.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you're charging, but it's only going to go so far,
Yeah.
especially if they're consistent and they're only needing the basic treatment, when they're doing this and they ain't doing nothing at home. But, Lil Nunu and them been trail hopping since then, and they need 8 inches of baby hairs
Yeah, right.
and the whole bottle of hairspray. And so, you charging for all that. You
You really
charging
got
for
to
the extra
consider
sprays.
what population you want to serve, like.
Yeah, in your city, in your
Mhm.
the demographic in the area
Mhm.
that I started in Texas versus when I relocated to Louisville. Even the demographic I was able to promote to just to get services done in cosmetology school, let alone when I graduated and then moved to another area of town. It was totally different. I wasn't able, to to take those clients with me from one end of town to the other, just because the distance was just so unreasonable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that again, I had to get past the grief of, these clients is gonna come with me. Girl, no, they not.
Mm.
No, they not. And they here for the hair school prices.
Mm.
They ain't even here for you, no matter what they
Yeah.
say. So
Same.
don't be in denial, baby. Accept that it is what it
Mhm.
is, so you can figure
Mhm.
out what you got to do to get more people in your chair.
I just think that speaks so much to how we can get attached, to our visions, right? Or attached to our goals, or attached to the work that we've put in thus far. There's plenty of opportunities, I feel, in everybody's lifetime where we have to choose if we want to continue on this path that we've been working
Mm-hmm.
on, or go the opposite direction or alternative route, which may or may not be better. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
that comes up in so many different ways in our lives, and it is a grieving process, even if you enjoy what comes next, right? Because we will
Yeah.
still attach to what we thought. Honey, you said you never thought that you would do
Baby,
hair.
I never, baby, and I used to say it hard. Never. We go to hair school. Never. Never. Why would I do that? I used to be like, girl, I don't even like doing. I tell my clients I don't like doing hair. I like people. I'm good at
Mm-hmm.
it, so I do it. But I do it for y'all, not for me. I do not like
Right.
doing hair. Not gonna hold you. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Not a little bit. But I like the way it makes people feel, and I get to talk to people.
Yeah.
I get to meet people from all different walks of life, and whether it's their wedding or their birthday or they first day out the house because they had a baby and they just need to feel like
Mm-hmm.
themselves, baby, it
Yeah,
matters to people.
it
It matters so
does.
much. And baby, they just get in there and pour out their little hearts at the shampoo
Mm-hmm.
bowl. We be crying and hugging and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it matters. And I'm like, I tell my clients, I don't like doing her, baby. I love you. So I'm going to do
Mm-hmm.
it. And
That
I'm
is
going to
so
keep,
sweet.
learning more. And if you come in with something I ain't never seen before or use a product, I'm like, can you text that to me? I ain't never heard of that. Can you
Mm-hmm.
send me a picture of that? And if I find something, I'll send it to you or we'll talk about it at your next appointment. But baby, we gonna figure it out, if we can. If you're willing, but it's a partnership. It is
Yeah,
a partnership.
for
It takes
sure.
two.
For
You could
sure.
have the best stylist who got all the treatments and do everything from sun up to sundown. But if you are not listening and you are not doing your part at home, and that's something else that we have to accept.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with a client and you been doing her hair for 5 years and y'all still stagnant, y'all ain't got no growth, and she's asking you what growth oil my clients know, baby, growth oil is not a thing. Nothing is gonna make your hair speed up. You can retain length by doing the things I've been telling you to do, but you think
I'm
you
about
can
to hang
sit
up
out
on
on
you.
me. You don't want to sit in my chair once a month because you want to use growth oil every day. Make that make sense. Like,
I'm
no, baby, it ain't
free.
how it works. But
No,
there are
baby,
some
that is
clients
not
where
a
I'm like, you
thing.
know what? Find whatever growth oil on Instagram you want. You block. You ain't got book with me. I hope you figure it out at home.
Oh my
Because
god.
you got a client that, baby, that notification pop up with their book and you be stressed. Like, I'm finna fight Larisha's hair for 5 hours when it should only take me 90 minutes
No,
because she
I
only come
think
once a year.
the client and I guess I could say server or facilitator of services. I don't know. I'm speaking on me as an esthetician, as a therapist, you as a
Yeah.
cosmetologist. So, but that relationship, that rapport is so
It's
important.
important.
Like if we don't have rapport, how do you trust me? How do I trust you? How do I know how to make sure that you feel satisfied with services? If you don't know your treatment goals, how can I help?
Yeah, it's like and I've had to turn a client's tray around and be like, do you trust me or not?
Yeah.
I've had a coworker, maybe having a little tit tat with a client, and I'm like, do you trust your stylist? And I'll be like, I'm meddling. Sometimes
Mhm.
I was like, I don't care. Do you trust yourself or not? Because, baby, you're not finna sitting here and stress my people. They trying to do
Yeah.
their job.
Yeah.
You booked. You feel me? You chose me. And 9 times out of 10, you researched me. It wasn't, or you seen somebody, and it wasn't just because the edges was laid. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
seen
Yeah.
somebody, and most of my clients is like, I work with a girl. I've been watching her hair for a year. I've been watching her hair for 4 years. It wasn't just no one style. It was like, ooh, who did that?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
It's a real thing. So do you trust me
Mhm.
or not? Because you came here, I didn't ask you to book with me. I wasn't selling myself to you, and I ain't about to. You know what you came here for. You read my website. You got the information that you got, and my website told you, baby, that we was about business over here.
Yeah.
So if this is what you want, cool, we can work with it. But if it's not, I will gladly refer you to a few other stylists who are a little bit more flexible.
Mhm.
But it's strict around
I do think too, just from a client perspective, this might be more so from a therapy standpoint, but it could also be maybe a spiritual standpoint if somebody is just starting on a new journey. Imposter syndrome is a thing when it
here.
comes to, acceptance, and we can start just like on the professional level, what that looks like, even maybe like going to conferences, like, who do I think I am trying to continue my education? I already got my
Yeah.
certificate. I already got my license. I already got my degree. What would be the point? And just really yearning for a sense of community when it comes to like elevating and transitioning through these different levels of professionalism, and so when you don't have that community to kind of escort you through, it is hard to feel that you belong, and so you might get a little depressed, right? Because it's like
Hmm.
this ain't again in alignment. I don't know if we said that on the record or if that was right
Or
before,
it's just
but
not playing out the way you think it's going to.
yeah, yeah,
Like you this is not what I had in mind. It ain't picking up. Like I started out wanting to be a natural stylist, but people's making thousands and millions of dollars doing tape ins.
mm,
So I need to start doing luxury extension services,
Dang.
but they ain't really giving. My clients is either losing her or they just not booking it. They want something more simple.
Mm-hmm.
Every client is not a luxury extension client.
That's true.
Everybody don't want to sew in. Everybody don't, want a quick weave. Like you really, and so you're learning and you like,
Mm-hmm.
ooh, this is what's trending. Let me take this class, let me learn how to do this out. And you booking and you got these services and nobody's booking them.
Yeah.
And you like,
Man,
this is where the money's at. This is what I want to do. Like, you got to accept that shit, grieve that $1 million Instagram stylist lifestyle that you were hoping for, and figure out what you really want, or find a way to make it happen. I ain't saying give up on it. You know what I'm saying? But
no, but these are gems because I think within this industry or the creative industry right now, we're talking about cosmetology, beauty, cosmetics, so forth. But we can also mention the fashion industry as well, or just anything that you contract in, nigga. Okay.
yeah, anything
If
that
you
you,
are an
yeah.
entrepreneur, anything that you are creating for yourself, it is so easy to get swamped up out here
Mm-hmm.
because of all
It
the
is.
different
Especially
options.
with the social media, the overexposure. Like,
Mhm.
sometimes you really gotta cut out the nonsense, the noise. It's cute and it's fun, to be that girl, be the celebrity stylist or whatever. Not even just because you do celebrities, but people know you because you do hair.
Yeah.
You are a celebrity as a stylist, not
Mhm.
the stylist who do celebrity hair.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, it ain't always getting you the money, and
Mhm.
that's not always bringing you the peace,
Ooh.
the lifestyle, and the clientele that come with that. Again, you have to not be in denial, accept what it is that you want, what you're willing to tolerate, what you can deal with, and from that point, you move forward and you decide, how am I gonna navigate and um get through this career to make it
Mhm.
work for me. Like, where's the longevity in it for me?
Yeah, that's
How
good.
do I make this work for me?
That's good.
Um,
And
and
I'm
that's
gonna,
the what I always had to go back to for myself. Definitely talk to others, and I've given a few people that same conversation. Like, you've been doing this for this amount of time.
mhm.
Either you gonna accept this type of clientele, or you gonna have to show people who you are, and you gonna have to say, and you gonna lose some clients, but you gonna gain some too.
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
you gonna lose, but the people who can't go with you to that next level or to the new transition, they just can't go with you, and that's okay.
Mhm. And I'm just bringing this up for the sake of speaking on all the different stages of grief, but anger. I see that in the industry. Sometimes it's like low key or not as like heavy, but I do feel that a lot of people are angry for not getting the type of support that maybe that they expected, right, from their certain audience
Absolutely.
or from their certain population of people. And so I think that can also be attached to being in denial of where you are in your certain career path, right? Or being in denial of who your audience is in this moment, or being in
Hmm.
denial on the alternative route that you maybe should have taken, when the
Because when you
opportunity
go to
came.
cosmetology school, everybody ain't gonna do her. Some people's gonna go and they never gonna touch another string.
Mhm. Mhm.
Sometimes it's a part of your journey to meet someone in there or learn something
That
about
part.
yourself or show yourself. I know people that was literally like, I went to her school because I didn't feel like I was smart enough for college. I thought college would be
Mm.
too hard. And now
Mhm.
they in nursing school.
Yeah.
Literally. Literally.
That's a
Like, they
funny
just
one.
had to prove to themselves, that,
Mhm.
that they could do something, that they could learn something. And for me in the beginning it was offensive, but again, I had did so many other things. So coming back to cosmetology, I had a respect for it. And I was there for the knowledge, the education. So for
Mhm.
90% of the people there to be like, I just came here because I thought this shit was going to be easy. I
Yeah.
need to do something. I didn't
Mhm.
think I could go to college and there was going to be a lot of money. And my parents told, my grandmother
Yeah.
did her. My granddaddy was a barber. So I just
Mhm.
chose this. And it's like, so you telling me you did this because you think you dumb? So you think you think I'm
Right.
dumb?
Right.
Like,
Mhm.
whole time
Yeah,
I'm
that
like,
is
nah, this
offensive.
is a, and but once you learn, you find where you're going. And
Yeah.
you might not ever go behind the chair. You might only be
Mhm.
behind the chair. I know my long game was never, like, my long game is not behind the chair, for 20 years, retire. My long game ain't put a jar of edge control on the shelf. That's somebody's story, but not mine. It's a whole lot more behind it. No, I'm serious. Like, people are like, you know so much. Why don't you, start a product line, or,
Mm-hmm.
have your own product, sell bundles, do this. That's a lot of people's stories, but
Yeah.
that's not mine. And it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. But we see that so often, and it's almost easy to find a little vendor online,
Yeah,
slap your
right.
logo on it off Canva, and do
Mm-hmm.
your thing.
Mm-hmm.
You are getting that immediate money. But what does that mean to
For
you?
you.
And how long are you going to be able, to do whatever that is? Whether, again, especially when you're just like purchasing a pre-made product off a vendor and slapping a label on it. It's
Mm-hmm.
18 edge controls and 16 of them is the exact same formula
Mm-hmm.
in a different bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's cool because it's 18 different. I don't know how many brands of bread it is in the world. People use that example often. Get your money,
Right.
but also figure out what's for you. Because
Mm-hmm.
while it's easy and it's common, and that money gonna come, you also got to get into a place where you're truly accepting what is for you, even if it means getting out of the industry. I've seen a lot of
Absolutely.
stylists step
Absolutely.
away and say,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't step away because my money was slowing down. It
Mm-hmm.
simply no longer served me.
Mm-hmm.
I was drained, or my body was tired, or I couldn't really be there for my kids because I was
Mm.
booked and busy 365 days out. That's
Real.
beautiful. I don't ever want to be that stylist.
Hello?
I don't ever want to be like, I forgot to block my books off for Christmas Day
Mm.
and I got 25 clients, because they don't
Ooh.
care.
They
When
don't?
they see it open, baby, they gonna book
Mm-hmm.
it. And I'm gonna cancel you and probably take your deposit back and say what you want about me. That's not why I do this. I'm going with
Of
my family.
course.
And my clients will reach out to me and say, girl, did you know it was open? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. Or sometimes I'm like, hey, I did it on purpose. I'm working a half day. But
Yeah.
the people that's for me are for me, and they respect how I show up for my family. And
Mm-hmm.
especially right now, my children, they know that that's important for me. They know that that is the end all be all.
Mm-hmm.
So when there's a date that isn't my usual business day, or it's close to something they know is important to me, or a holiday, they're going to reach out and say, hey, did you mean to do it before? Or I booked it, but let me know if I need to cancel, I reschedule, or, whatever. I ain't got to worry about getting bashed, but I set the tone from the day I stepped foot in the city. And a lot of people were like, if you did this, you would build your clientele faster. If you did this. And I'm like, it's going to come, baby. I worked 3-4 jobs until it made sense. But
Mm-hmm.
what I wasn't going to do is kill myself coming in this line and being around people that I didn't want to do, or didn't respect me. They thought I was a machine. I did
Yeah.
that when I was in corporate. Why would I be my own boss and let y'all come in here and stress
Mm-hmm.
me out and beat me down? I'm not
Mm-hmm.
doing it. And that's not to say that even right now as an entrepreneur and dealing with certain clientele, I don't get stressed, that I don't get frustrated, that like I said, there are some people that after one appointment, they may not even get the book. We do a consultation and I'm like, you know what? I don't think I'm for you. And it ain't even that they're being difficult. Sometimes it's just the energy.
Yeah.
But again,
Yeah.
the one thing that I quickly decided when I switched industries was I have accepted that I am not a work slave. And I
Mm-hmm.
am never, ever, ever going to be that as my own boss,
Mm-hmm.
especially.
Mm-hmm.
I got out of this because I knew the flexibility in it. I did know that. And my
Right.
flexibility initially was about school. I wanted to get more degrees. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
who can go to school full time on campus? Because I wasn't willing to go online. How I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to do that and then work 30, 40, 50, 60, 80? I was averaging 75 hours a week at one point.
Ooh.
How I'm finna do that
Goodness.
and still be able to show up in school, and be the student that I want to be? That's impossible. So I'm like, I don't gotta do hourly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can do a service, and if I do this many silk presses, that's my water bill. And if
Mm-hmm.
I do this many maintenance packages, cool, that's the car payment.
Uh-huh.
Literally. And I lived like that for the first 3 to 4 years of every time I had my eye on something, I calculated how many of one certain service
Mm-hmm.
I needed to do to make that happen. And then I timed myself. So the services were no longer hourly.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like, cool, I can do this at this
Right,
time
right.
and I can do this at the same time. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but again, I had an end game.
For sure.
But when you hop into something and you're only chasing the money, or you're chasing the look, or you're chasing the lifestyle, that's only going to get you so far. And that's something that, again, we all have to accept. We have to let go of the anger. Again, all emotions are tied to me, lack of acceptance. You will no longer be angry or sad or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, once you accept things for what they are and accept what ain't for what it ain't as well.
Mm-hmm. I think that links really well with the next question of common misconceptions that we've heard of grief within our communities. Would you like to start with one? You were kind of in the middle of one that I had written down, but I just wanted to segue into that one. Do you have any common misconceptions that you've heard?
You had pinned on something earlier, and I was gonna say, I recently, not recently now, but fairly recently learned that grief was not tied into death.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
During COVID, I was really trying to get my social media game up. I said, this is going to be when I become a content creator. I'm practicing my makeup. I'm doing my hair because I'm at
Mm-hmm.
home. I'm my client. I brought all this stuff home, but I was also on a lot of other people's pages trying to get ideas, whatever. But I stumbled across a therapist, and she had posted she was collaborating with another therapist to do like a virtual grief session.
Mm-hmm.
And she named a couple other subjects, but I was like, I ain't doing nothing. I'm gonna call in or,
Mm-hmm.
get on the Zoom or whatever it was. And that was one of the first things that she said. And when I tell you I broke down,
Oh.
because so many things clicked for me in that moment.
Mm.
Um, I always associated grief with death. That's
Yeah,
what we know.
for
We
sure.
don't have really in-depth conversations around grief, but that's how you associate it with.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time I had been home a year. At the end of 2018, I moved back to Louisville from Texas. I was there during Hurricane Harvey, so I lost everything except for
Wow.
my car during that period.
Oh,
And I was also still a full-time student. So I lost 2 jobs,
oh my
school,
goodness.
my apartment, everything. And I went back to Texas, thugged it out, eventually got, back working, but it was a process. But I never had the opportunity to grieve the
Mm.
life that changed overnight.
Yes, you can
The
say
life that I went
that.
out there to have. I got
Mm-hmm.
there and, I did have a job, and partially I enjoyed my job, but things just weren't what I had in mind when I was told that if I went to college and I kept good grades and I graduated in 4 years and I didn't have kids too early and I didn't have a toxic relationship and I was good to my friends and I
Mm.
saved my money and I budgeted and I invested that I was going to have this life.
Wow.
And I didn't have that. I lost everything. And then I'm like, cool, I got
Mm.
family. I'm going to go home. I'm going to shake it. But the family that I left in 2016 was not the same family at early 2019, the end of
Oh.
2018 when I came
Mm-hmm.
home.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother was deep, deep in dementia.
Mm.
Her health was quickly fading. And so I spent the next year caring for her until her last breath. She passed Father's Day of 2020
I'm
in
sorry
the
to
midst
hear
of
that.
COVID. So
Mm.
I didn't really
Goodness.
even get to grieve surrounded by family and friends. The
Right.
funeral was like 50 people.
Mm.
There was so much happening, and it
Mm-hmm.
felt like every time I was calling myself processing life, not grieving. So I
Yeah.
was trying to
Mm.
process these changes and the things that were occurring. But every time I tried to begin to process one thing, something else was happening.
Mm.
Um,
Delay after delay.
it was just so much. And I never grieved is something that my therapist and I recently, at
Mm.
my very first session, she said, you gave me this list, this timeline of your life, your earliest memory to now. And she said, I don't, you just named these things off and there wasn't a pause. Like I didn't have any emotional reaction to any of the
Mm.
things that I was saying as I read
Mm.
off this list of life's events. And she was like,
Mm.
these things happen in this order. She was like, so what did you do? How did you get to that? And I'm like, baby, I woke up and went to work.
Mm.
I did this, I did that. And she was like, I don't think you've ever grieved anything. You just,
Mm.
and I'm like, well, life gotta go. I never thought of it in that moment. I was like, damn, it's always something.
Yeah.
But I never looked at it like, it was just like, yeah, your granny died. You still gotta go to school. Like when my
Mm-hmm.
great grandmother passed away my senior year of high school, her funeral was on my senior prom day. I missed her prom because my family insisted that I would go to prom.
Mm.
And it was a lot, but then I had prom, then I had graduation, then I had a summer, and then I had to get ready for college. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Again, I was working, I had jobs, I had things I had to do. So
Mm-hmm.
there was never a moment for me to just breathe.
Yeah.
I was sad that day in that moment. Um, and then it was kind of like, okay, well, you know what they say. She would want you to, live life. She would want
Mm-hmm.
you to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that's what I tried to do. Like, because I felt like I had to. In processing the grief, on the group call in COVID, that struck such a nerve for me. And like I said, at full circle moment, I just recently was able to really even process that. But I just remember this lady, her name is Aisha, the therapist, and she said, grief is not tied to death. She said a lot of people currently are grieving their Monday happy hour with their best friend, you know, going to the park with their kids, going to the office and getting away from their kids. Let's be clear, mama need a break. People, freshmen who were going off to college, you know, they didn't have graduation, they didn't have prom. Like, she's naming all these things, and I'm like, yes, like that is so much. For myself, I picked up a few books during this period as well, and I could never process my emotions and understand why my emotions felt so intense, but I realized then that I am an empath, and it made so much of my childhood, you know, make sense for me as well. As a community, grief is only associated with death or it lost. But it's like, did the house burn down? Okay, cool, you sad. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you switch schools and you miss your best friend. Like, they don't really give kids that. Your kid lost his favorite toy. You know, his favorite football got deflated. He dropped it in the river, tossing it to his dad at the waterfront park. Things that seem so small. I love strawberries, but now I have an allergy to them. It could be so simple, and that's an example. I love strawberries and I eat them every day. I don't got no allergy, y'all. But that example just to know that we lose things and we have plans for things, and when that goes away, when you are no longer in denial, or you can't deny, you have to accept that, you know, my daddy is my daddy and I love him, but he ain't the guy. He's human. Grieving the image, you know, that you have and the idea that you have of people, and even yourself. Getting into a fight in the 3rd grade and you like, damn, I thought I was a good kid, but you know, I just pulverized this guy. Like,
for sure. You can
that
grieve
all of
your
those things are
former
tied to
self.
grief. Yes.
Absolutely.
And so then I started really unpacking the moments in my life when I was grieving who I thought I was or who I wanted to be. When I was grieving opportunities that I felt like I had missed out on, or things that were stolen from me. Certain friendships that I felt like, you know, they could have been better to me, or I could have been better to them, you know, regardless of the reason behind it. Mentorships and all these things. And so, being that I was one of the only people in my family who wasn't still considered like a work, you know, they were either working from home or my sister's a nurse at the time. She was going to work. So the only person not working were me and my mom. Cause she was at Ford at the time. And so we were taking care of my grandmother. It went from our entire family going in shifts 7 days a week. You take a couple hours to it just being me and her.
Wow.
And we're trying to keep traffic down. So I'm grieving the opportunity to see other people show my grandmother love in the days that I don't know when is going to be the last one. And my family, we're grieving together, but we're also grieving our ability to be together, because prior to that, every Friday when my grandmother could no longer leave the house, baby, we was linking up on Fridays to eat in, just to bring ourselves to her, because we all want to be here together. So COVID, okay, here we got to minimize the traffic. You know, we got to keep this down. We got to keep that down. You know, I had a nephew who was 2, so we don't get to see each other as much, you know, because again, we were trying to keep things down. So my little cousins are growing, and, you know, we're missing out. And my family we get together so much that in this time that I'm still processing and transitioning from, you know, my loss with the hurricane, and I'm just happy to be home. I'm grieving what I thought being home was even going to feel and look like.
Goodness.
And nobody, I don't blame, but nobody checked in on that. It was like, girl, you get to sit at home, kick your feet up. You know, you don't never take a break. Bitch, I want to go to work. Like, I want to go to work. I'm grieving. I've never had a job where I wasn't social. I worked in retail. You know, I've done so many different things, but I always got to talk to people where I was at, whether it was a call center, high school, fast food. I'm a very social person, and in hindsight, I didn't realize until then I had never had a job where I wasn't talking to people from clock in to clock out.
Well, I think that connects with, you know, culturally, how we as Black people, like you said, we typically associate grief with death. And so
Yeah.
nobody realized how much this impacted you. You know what I'm saying?
They
Like
didn't
to
realize
have
how
your
much I had lost. It
whole,
was like, you get to
yeah.
come home and be with your family. You ain't homeless. I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm living with
Mhm.
somebody else. This shit ain't mine.
Yeah.
I'm grieving my independence. I'm grieving the freedom, to just whatever's in the
Yeah.
refrigerator is mine.
Mhm.
I ain't gotta
Mhm.
say I'm going to get food. You want something? You know what I'm saying? It's not a
Yeah.
big deal. But when it's mandatory because you're constantly around people, and then it goes, because at the time my sister and I, we're roommates. And again, very blessed. I love my family. I did have a lot of support during that time, but to
Yeah.
this day, nobody really fully realizes what I lost and what that
Mhm.
meant to me mentally and emotionally, while simultaneously coming home and saying, oh, I just can't wait to be around my family every day. And then I can't be around my family every day.
Yeah. You definitely lost more
Um,
than the tangible.
like my sister, again, we were living together, but she was at work, sun up, sun
Mhm.
down.
Mhm.
They was wanting her to sleep at work
Yeah.
as a nurse. Um, so it was a lot to take in, but again, because grief is only associated with death, and nobody says it out loud, but they definitely give you a timeline on it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so what I learned, again, even during that call, is that grief is not linear. Grief looks like a lot of
Mhm.
things.
Mhm.
It took a weight off my shoulders to know that anger is, a part of that. And
Yep.
so it was natural for me to be angry in some moments,
Mhm.
to be frustrated with God, in the time that I
Mhm.
was like, you took everything away from me. And I literally remember being like, I just need my nanny to be able to see
Mhm.
me do some more things.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
No, you're
and I'm like, God, that's all
right.
I asked you for.
Right.
And so I was angry. I
Mhm.
felt like I deserved that. Like, I done tolerated a lot, bruh. You can
I
give me
swear.
that. You can give me that. God gave me the 10 whole months to do nothing but sit with her. And while that was hard, I had peace in that.
Yeah.
I got to be there with her every step of the way
Mhm.
until her last breath.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And it was heavy at the time.
Mhm.
Honestly, I don't know that I will ever get over watching her take her last breath, but I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Yeah, especially after that time you all were separate in Texas and then being able to come back.
And so then there's the regret and the anger in
Mhm.
myself that nobody, you wanted to move to Texas, you moved to Texas. You know what I'm saying? You wanted to go to school, you wanted to do this, you wanted to do that, you did those things. And it's like all at the cost of being able to be there with her in her last like good years.
Mhm.
When she still, was going to, the hairdresser and going to, hey, let's go shopping and get our nails done. Let's go get a coffee. Let's go to lunch. Like, I didn't get to do those things in the period when I was a little more financially stable and,
Yeah.
had a more dependable car. And,
Mhm.
when I spent the most time with my grandmother, it was like fresh out of college or, during those college years where I was really leaning on her for a lot of support,
Mhm.
which was a blessing, but I didn't really get to fully return that favor.
Yeah. Oh,
So again, a lot of people don't see it in that aspect of like
what all was lost.
more, yeah, like the
Mhm.
relationship dynamic,
Mhm.
so it's like every milestone I'm re-grieving
Mhm.
the ability to have her
Yeah.
be a part of that.
That's real.
Um,
That's another one I want to add to misconceptions because you did really well pointing out the fact that the stages of grief are not linear. And I'm also believing that it's not necessarily something that we should plan to overcome. That
yes,
eventually at one point, because you said with every milestone, right? Like this is somebody who we love dearly. Because now we're talking about grief associated with death, but still,
yeah,
this we're talking about someone that we love dearly who was a part of our day to day lives, who we spent some time away from, and we came back and we served as their caregiver. This is a very
yeah,
loving and deep dynamic. And so obviously, we plan to have them right in our lives to see us do certain things, even if we don't know what those certain things are, but
yeah,
we know that they would have a seat at whatever occasion that would possibly be. And so I just want us who do grieve, whether that's an opportunity or specifically right now we're talking about who are grieving people, that you had such a deep and loving connection with, um, do not make do not pressure yourself into thinking that your grief needs to be over at some point. Like it's
And
just,
I've heard people say that, like,
mm-hmm.
suggesting therapy. And I had
Sure.
someone recently tell me, I'm not ready to go to therapy. I'm still grieving.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, grief therapy is not to end your grief. You're
Mm-hmm.
not going to show
Mm-hmm.
up and they're not going to say, girl, that was 2 years ago.
Exactly.
It is so
Exactly.
that you can grieve in a healthy manner. It is to help
Mm-hmm.
you process it so that your grief, so that you don't stay stuck in one stage
Mm-hmm.
of grief. Um, but had so many people, I'm still grieving. Okay.
Yeah.
You
Mm-hmm.
probably will forever, be
Absolutely.
grieving. Especially when it's tied to those types of losses. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like I said, for me, the loss of, respect and, you just put people on these pedestals
Mm-hmm.
and you think of them to be who they are supposed to be to you, and you never think of what they are to other people.
Wow.
You know, there are some amazing dads in the world who aren't great husbands. They aren't great
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
co-parents,
Two
you
things can
know.
be true, right?
Um, two things can be true.
Mm-hmm.
And so you grow up and you see what your mom has tolerated or vice versa. There are some mothers, who may not. And so you see what your dad has tolerated, from that relationship. And you look at that person differently
Mm-hmm.
because especially when it's like, you told me to be a stand up guy. You told me to be a woman of my word. You told me to treat people how they want to be treated. And the way you treating people, I know you don't want nobody to treat you like that.
Yeah. And I think that's another reason that therapy could be beneficial for um, things like this, which is what is considered complex grief. Like
Mm-hmm.
when people transition and y'all did not have a good dynamic, but this was
Mm-hmm.
your first cousin, or this was your aunt, or this was your mom, your dad, and that
Yeah.
happens. Like as heavy as it is, people do lose parents, or parents lose children, and they were not on a good note.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bad way to separate, and so that causes all the negative emotions, the
Mm-hmm.
anger especially, right, and the shame and the blame, and so you do still have to go, or I ain't gonna tell you what you have to do, but you should
Yeah.
you should go to therapy and process both phases of those feelings. Like, we're talking about feelings that were around when this person was earthside. They no longer are, but obviously you do feel sad because this person isn't here,
Mm-hmm.
but your feelings are still valid from however you felt the last time y'all interacted. So it's very layered, what that looks like to grieve when we have what they call unfinished business with the
Yeah,
person
grieving
who,
the opportunity to make it right.
yeah, absolutely.
Hoping
Hmm.
that they gonna come and apologize, and now that they gone, it ain't never gonna happen. You like, I
Yeah.
was giving them time to come to
Hmm.
me and say this, and that's gone. So again, you're grieving that opportunity of what you thought would be, because you always thought you had more time
Jeez.
to get that right.
Hmm.
But things completely, not tied to grief. Um, like something simple with kids, whether it be switching schools. I know that's a big one in my household.
Hmm.
My bonus son, he has lived in 3 different states, and he's 12.
Wow.
Um, and his relocation, and it was just due to his dad's job, and he lives with
Hmm.
his dad full time. So,
Hmm.
he moved, and from kindergarten, and then he moved again, and like he started 4th grade here in Louisville, but he started 2nd grade in Charlotte. He was born in Charlotte, but he started kindergarten in Orlando.
Oh my goodness.
They just, and so for him, those relationships, teaching him how to, that he can still nurture and hold on to relationships even long
Yeah.
distance. It may seem
Yeah.
hard when you don't talk to someone for a whole
Yeah.
year, but
Hmm.
when you reach out and it's no love lost, hey, I haven't talked to you. How was your school year? Are you still playing? Whatever.
Yeah.
And we've even been like, you can reach out to your old friend from 4th grade, and maybe we can meet up for a family
Hmm.
vacation, or,
Hmm.
different things like that. But we expressed to him that while we both, lived and were born and raised and did not leave our hometowns, of Louisville until we were adults, we both moved around a lot as an adult. And so college friends or friends in different cities we lived in or from different jobs, we still have those relationships.
Yeah.
So when we do visit different cities, even if those friends are no longer in the cities we met in,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, hey, I'm coming to Chicago.
Right.
Hey, I'm in Indianapolis. Hey, I'm in Cincy, link
Nearby.
up.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm in your town, give me some ideas of something to do.
Yeah.
The relationship can definitely still stand, but again, for him, there is a lot of grief in that.
Yeah, for sure.
Going from it being, oh, just me and my dad to, oh, now my dad has this girlfriend. Oh, now we have
Mm-hmm.
another kid.
Mm-hmm.
He's always been, it's just him and his dad.
Yeah.
So we constantly talk about, it's okay if you're uncomfortable. It's okay if you happy on Monday and by Friday you pissed off
You're
that we
not.
having a baby,
Absolutely.
like, especially surrounding my pregnancy. I'm like, let me know something. Like, it's cool. I don't have any siblings outside of my parents, and neither does my fiance. All of our siblings have same mom, same dad. Versus he does. His son
Mm-hmm.
does have siblings by his mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, my partner and I, my fiance and I have a son. So this is the first time he's like lived in the house with a sibling, like,
Mm-hmm.
consistently, and
Mm-hmm.
his younger sibling specifically. And so it's all new for him. And I tell him all the time, especially like I said at the beginning of my pregnancy, it was like for you to grieve, what things would look like with just you and your dad, or the things that you guys used to do, or the things that he allowed, because I do have different rules, than dad. And we're constantly, just kind of trying to have conversations around that.
Yeah.
But again, allowing him to know that grief is not tied to death, and he has yet to lose anyone close to him.
Okay.
So he did a blessing. That's something
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about. I'm like, I didn't know how to process grief, but
Mm-hmm.
I did experience death at a a young age, and
Yeah.
I was always really inquisitive about it. But I was his age when I think I got comfortable with it and wasn't like fearful of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was when my grandfather passed away.
Okay.
But I constantly let him know, like, it's okay to grieve the school, the teacher, the friends,
Mm-hmm.
the city. Baby, Florida to Kentucky, the weather's different.
Right. Right.
You grieving going to Disney on a Wednesday. It's cool. That's normal. But we also have to process it, and you are going to get frustrated. You're going to be angry and sometimes sad because you
Mm-hmm.
don't know what's next. But
Mm-hmm.
that's why we're here. You can draw, you can talk. He is in therapy as well, but um, yeah. Overall, I think the stigma of grief being tied to death and not loss itself, especially a sense of self.
Mm-hmm.
When you're growing
Mm-hmm.
as a preteen to a
Very
teenager, and you
right.
have to identify. We just talked about balancing being an entrepreneur and a partner and a mother and a sister and a
Mm-hmm.
cousin and a friend. And so now you have to be a big brother full time, not just, two
Yeah.
weekends out the year.
I'm glad
So
you mentioned children. They're so resilient. I love kids. They just I think they be recovering from stuff sooner than I can. But they are so sponges. They can pick up on things because they're at that age. Well, I'm talking about our kids, how they're toddlers. But they're at the age where they pick up on things, and my daughter's 3, so she's learning to attach emotion to how she's acting, or to her mood. And I feel once you give them the chance, to just talk to them and say like what's going on and give them the floor to explain and however they can. Because they're not talking full sentences all the time. But kids will definitely reflect um their environment, whether that's chaos,
mhm.
whether that is entertainment, whether that is humor, so kids are very smart, even if they don't have the words to share it. So I'm glad that you um, kind of highlighted what that even looks like on a developmental aspect, for kids, because we all experience grief. Again, it's just a individual experience. We all experience it differently on different levels, whether we're talking about grief due to loss of opportunity or grief associated with death. So I appreciate you sharing what that looks like from a children's standpoint or perspective. Talk to the kids, man. They don't got the words
Yeah.
that you do, and they got the emotion. Last question: how would you, or how could your specific creative industry be used as a tool to aid in one's healing from grief?
The most important thing is like for most people, when they look good, they feel good.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've learned is that I have people come in and we get these videos online where their hair is matted, it's tangled, they haven't been caring for themselves, whether they can't because they were caring for a parent or a kid and they've now passed on, or whatever it is that they are grieving, but people neglect to take care of themselves, and that's never the intent, but it happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so being able to give them that lay back, let me take care of you, let me nurture you, let me do this for you because you've been doing so much for other people, you've forgotten about yourself. In that process, they're so vulnerable that they shed those layers, and they often end up, like I said, pouring their hearts out and explaining, hey, this is what I've been dealing with, this is what I've been feeling. And so for me, it's like, open up your heart, keep your mind open, but also when I get home from work, I leave everything at the door.
For sure.
Yeah, you take on so much of other people's like emotions and their weight. They come in and you like, girl, how was your day? How was your week? And you mean it, but then they dump. Kids and adults, baby, they will dump on you. And so it's a blessing. But at the same time, you have to turn that off at the door when you get home. I have to shed that weight. I have to be able to walk into my home with a clear mind, to be there and be present. That way I'm not stressed out over somebody else's situation. And taking care of myself, so that I can be there with my clients and say, you know what, sorry you went through that. Here's what we can do. Or, if you want to talk about it, cool. But if not, just relax. We ain't going to think about that right now. Sometimes I have to tell my clients, leave that at the door. But as service providers, we have to know that it's not just about hair. It's such an intimate service. When you're touching someone, you're leaning over their face, you're so close to their head. Like, you really have to turn away that negative energy. And this, again, like I was saying earlier with clients, not all money's good money. If a client's energy ain't off, I'll turn you away. I will turn you away so quick. I'll finish the service. I'll either end it or I'll just say, hey, you know what? I don't think I'm the one for you. But as service providers, we definitely have to watch our energy and take care of ourselves, pray over ourselves and our business. And that includes the clients that we come in contact with, because other people's energy, whether somebody chasing them physically and coming to your business and fighting or whatever, or just whatever negative energy they're carrying. If they're down on themselves and then they talking negative, to you, or sometimes you can really just make somebody's day, whether they're thinking negatively about themselves, they don't like their hair and they got this job interview and they just like, nothing that you do is gonna make me look good enough for this job. Like, nah, come on, girl, we gonna shed that. I need the relaxer, I need a wig, I need no, baby, you was fine just the way you are. We just gotta give it a little extra, TLC. But if you love what you have and take care of it properly, it is going to suit you. And so having that conversation, and again, it goes back to education, having the skill and the knowledge. There is no one texture, of hair that is best for this, one type of style. It's all about the health. Absolutely. And the way that you care for it. Anything gonna work if you take care of it properly.
So I'm glad that you pointed towards self-nurturing. I do think that is something that I typically think of when I think of your creative industry, being a cosmetologist or just any type of cosmetic services, is getting nurtured, getting groomed up, like getting my nails done, whether that's getting my nails done, getting my feet done, getting my hair done. 9 times out of 10, sure, we can do it ourselves, but it's all about delegating, right? As a client, delegating tasks, getting somebody else to do it, because it can become overwhelming to have to deal with day-to-day activities and functions on top of self-maintenance, especially as a woman. It's just too much. Like right